Hello, everybody. Welcome to StraightA. Dawson here, back with another NFL Week 9 recap. I always keep on saying another NFL Week 9 recap or another NFL Week 8 recap or whatever, but it's only another recap, NFL Week 9 edition. Love doing it. That's just my thing to do now. Beside the point, we're going to roll right into things. Please go and check out the good content on the channel. NFL Madden 2003 Imperialism has just been released, as well as just some old videos like the quizzes that we're doing, and we're going to be recording some new quizzes here soon. So please stick around for that good stuff, as well as we do weekly predictions and weekly power rankings all together as a group. So please stick around for all of that if you would like to enjoy the content there. But if not, that's fine. Get that too. Leave a like and support the video down below. Leave a comment of any suggestions you like, what content you like to see. For now, we're going to roll right into NFL Week 9. Now, first off, we have the Tennessee Titans at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers won this pretty handily. They honestly had more control in the game than the score projects, to be honest with you. Will Levis, wasn't the greatest second game in the world. Was not. But Will Levis still looked fine. He still looked content. And I still think he can build off a lot of what the potential talent he has already shown from. So don't be discouraged too much. 262 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Not the best, but he looked okay out there. Run game for Tennessee, obviously, is still one of the best things going for him. Receiving, really nothing was going on in that game. It just felt like they weren't really getting anything going. And defensively, the Tennessee Titans really were struggling, even in the run game, which was usually one of their strong points in terms of their defense. Meanwhile, Kenny Pickett, kind of had a good, solid day. Rushing was pretty solid for the Steelers overall. It looks like they were able to really utilize Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris pretty collectively to really drive the ball down. Meanwhile, Deontay Johnson finally caught his first touchdown pass. That's freaking crazy from at least Kenny Pickett, I believe. Beside the point, otherwise, defensively, the Steelers were dominating on defense, and they looked like they were controlling most of this game. So the Steelers took this pretty handily, and look, it was a pretty decent game. It was a grindy game, but it was almost an interesting kind of game in that way. So, we got to take that as it will be. Then we have the Dolphins at Chiefs in Germany. Unfortunately, the Dolphins do fall once again to put up decent stats against a good defense, but they could not get the job done. Did make this game a little bit closer than maybe some people would want to see, but Raheem Mostert did pretty all right. Meanwhile, they also did kind of do some fun things behind the scenes with some other running backs. Jeff Wilson Jr., of course, coming back here too. Receiving, really quiet game for everybody, but Cedric Wilson Jr. got a touchdown, so that's pretty cool. Meanwhile, on defense, the Dolphins really did try to get something going, but they kind of were struggling a little bit on defense. But they still were honestly kind of solid in this game, so not too much to complain there. Patrick Mahomes, of course, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. A little bit more of a down game for him. He's not having like the stellar games constantly. Granted, this was in Germany. It was in a different little area. It wasn't really a home game for him, so a little bit of a down game, but still not too bad. Isaiah Pacheco on the ground was fine. Receiving got spread along with a lot of people, but Rashee Rice and Jerick McKinnon caught the actual touchdowns here. And defensively, again, they just kind of pummeled the Dolphins until they finally submitted. That was kind of how the story really went. Fun-ish game, but the Dolphins are starting to worry me. They're not really winning any of these important games, and this was a third game. They showed a little bit more than they have in past important games, but this one just kind of showed, like, man, what can the Dolphins really do? They came alive a little bit in the second half, but otherwise, it was kind of a bad one single-handed game for a little bit. Either way, we had the Vikings at the Falcons. This is the big story here was Joshua Dobbs came in and didn't know anything. I don't think he even knew the players' names is what a lot of the story is, but that's kind of good that he came in there and he was ready. He was ready to say, all right, guys, we're going to come in here and we're going to get stuff done. And honestly, he did pretty good. 20 for 30, 158, 2 touchdowns. Not too shabby. A lot of rushing from Josh Dobbs, too. So if you had him on fantasy, very good job. Alexander Madison was kind of poor on the ground. Cam Akers is now out for the season. Jaron Hall, is Jaron Hall. He came in for a little bit, did a little bit of passing, but receiving, J.J. Hawkinson continues to be pretty much the main target there. Jordan Addison got a little bit of love. Alexander Madison found the end zone, though, in the receiving game, so he actually really got involved there. Meanwhile, defensively, definitely could have been a better game for Minnesota, but honestly, it's still not too bad. The Falcons really actually kind of stepped it up a little bit and better than I thought they would against the Minnesota defense. Didn't think this would be high scoring. Taylor Heineke came in, put up fine numbers. Bijan could be a better day on the ground. They didn't really get a chance on the ground too much. Tyler Algier did kind of get utilized a lot more. Meanwhile, in the receiving game, Jonnu Smith continues to kind of dominate in that game. Kyle Pitts is slowly behind him, but, otherwise everybody else is kind of catching up with them. Defensively, the Falcons actually did pretty good, putting pressure on early in terms of like, hey, we're not going to allow you to score too early. We're not going to let things get too out of hand, and eventually kind of spiraled out of control. So the Falcons need to work on their endurance throughout the rest of the game, but the Falcons defense still stepped up at least a decent bit to maybe control the game a little bit. 4 sacks too from the defensive line, so it was really impressive to see. Otherwise, not really too much of a game for the Falcons defense here. Bringing the 5-4 Vikings, so they're actually kind of getting contention for a playoff spot, while Falcons are struggling to stay alive. So we'll see how the rest of that goes. Meanwhile, we'll go to New Orleans to see the Bears take on the Saints. More of an impressive game we've seen from the Bears, I guess. 3 interceptions, still very, very poor, but they're starting to look like they're actually a team, I guess. I feel like in past weeks they've kind of been getting pummeled. So it's good to see that they're having some shining spots here and there. But 3 interceptions still not going to help you win the game. Darnell Mooney got really involved this one. Cole Kmet got really involved. So that was really awesome to see. Chicago Bears defense kind of still the weak point of the whole team. The offense has shining moments. The defense cannot really keep up with anything. Meanwhile, Saints kind of did the Saints thing. It felt like they really blow up one week and kind of scale it back another week, even against a bad defense. So Derek Carr got some of his love in there. Taysom Hill really rushing on the ground, actually, more than Alvin Kamara, who is still more involved in the passing game, but Chris Olave is still the focus point there. So Kamara's getting a little bit of love from both areas, but not like the whole focus point of love anymore from either one of those, the rushing or receiving areas. So kind of interesting to see. Saints defense, though, did pretty solid. I mean, it was against the Bears, so they put a lot of pressure. Paulson Adebo got 2 interceptions, so it was pretty good. But otherwise, Saints defense just did what they needed to do. Simple and to the point. Rams at Packers. Rams just really couldn't get anything going this game. It was pretty brutal in this regard. A lot of these games, by the way, I did watch at least a little bit, but I had to go back and kind of look at stats and look at like highlights of certain points. This is one of the games where I'm like, man, poor Rams. They just did not get anything going. No receiving, no rushing. Defensively, they look fine-ish. They look better than they normally do, I guess. But Packers, they look like $1,000,000 out there. Jordan Love, more of a better game from him. Still not looking amazing, though. Aaron Jones had a comeback-ish game. Luke Musgrave got really involved, which was really cool. And defensively, the Packers stepped up to about what you would expect from the Packers defense. Maybe a little bit less, but still, Packers had it overall ready to go this game. Rams didn't. Packers ended up getting the win. Simple and to the point for that one. Meanwhile, the Commanders at Patriots. Man, this game looked like a game you did not want to watch. I'll be honest, I did not catch really a bit of it, a little bit of it live or at all, pretty much, except for the highlights. And sure, Sam Howell put up numbers, but it just did not look like a fun game for anybody, unless you're one of those fans, I guess. And even then, I don't know if it would be much fun for you. Brian Robinson Jr. did get a touchdown. Scary Terry continues to be a really good option there. Jahan Dotson got a little bit of love, though. So, take that as you will. Logan Thomas, suitable enough. Defensively, really kind of nothing from either one of these teams, but honestly, nothing splashy, I'd say. They just kind of did the stops. Both these defenses tend to just stop the other team, but they don't really do much in terms of sacks or interceptions. Meanwhile, Mac Jones, a little bit of step down. This is probably in the middle ground between the high spots we've seen from him and the low spots. So Patriots did fine-ish. Ramondre Stevenson had finally a really decent game with only 9 carries. He actually had 87 yards, so that was really awesome, and a touchdown, of course. Receiving, again, goes to everybody in the Patriots, honestly. Jawan Bentley got a ton of tackles. That is kind of notable. See, 2 sacks as well. Otherwise, again, they can have a little bit more flashy numbers on the Patriots side of things, which is not too much of a surprise, but it's kind of just stopped the Commanders for the most part. But the Commanders just were putting up too many numbers to really stop them from winning the game, essentially. Anyway, the Seahawks at the Ravens, a brutalizing game, honestly. Geno Smith just did not get anything going. Kenneth Walker, of course, they couldn't even really run the ball while they could. No one in receiving game really got anything except for Jackson Smith and Jigba. So that was kind of cool, I guess. But defensively, Seahawks got absolutely eaten alive by the Ravens, who then just proceeded to just pound and pound and pound. Even Tyler Huntley came in and did decently well. Running game, this new third string of Keaton Mitchell came in, 9 carries, 138 yards, 1 touchdown. Gus Edwards still continues to get a lot of the carries. Justice Hill a little bit behind him. So I don't know what the run game for the Ravens is going to be in the future, but it's looking weird. It's looking weird back there. But either way, great game from them. Mark Andrews, of course, continues to have a spectacular game. Odell Beckham came in, did not catch from Lamar because Lamar only never threw or ran into the end zone. So that was kind of interesting. Otherwise, kind of a quiet game for everybody else. Defensively, the Ravens kind of ate them alive. 1 interception from Geno Stone and 2 sacks from Kyle Van Noy. Otherwise, the Ravens just kind of ate them alive. That's simple. I only know how to really express it. The Birds really attacked this game, and it was not the Seahawks who came out on top. Dude, and okay, I'm so glad I caught this game. The Buccaneers Texans. I actually was really invested in this game, so I tuned in to watch, especially especially started watching the second half. And I'm so glad I started watching the second half because this game was such a good second half. First half, I'm sure it was great too. I didn't watch too much of it, but Baker Mayfield, great game. He's putting up good numbers, doing solid things. Rashad White had a great game, stellar showing there. Nothing against him either. Receiving, again, Mike Evans was getting out there, but Cade Otto was really the big story. Apparently, he decided to be something this game. Otherwise, Mike Evans did have a lot of numbers too. Defensively, Buccaneers were doing awesome. You know, they were doing, what they needed to for a high-scoring game, but they still weren't putting up the numbers. Then all of a sudden, you go and look at the Texans here. C.J. Stroud had the career, the game of his career right here. And that was awesome to see. Seeing him drive in that last 20 seconds of the game. C.J. Stroud, 30 for 42, 470 yards, 5 touchdowns. I think it broke a rookie record in terms of how well he did this game. Really amazing to see. And he just looked so calm, collected this whole game. They didn't need the run game to work. He just threw it. And people were there for him. Tank Dell was there for him. Nico Collins was there for him. Dalton Schultz was there for him. Noah Brown was there for him. I don't even know who Noah Brown is. And they just absolutely went out there and said, all right, none of us are number one receiver type guy, but we're going to go out there and we're going to make this thing work against not the worst defense in the league. I mean, Buccaneers are not the best defense in the league, but gosh, they just made them look like chumps out there. And it was really awesome to see. Texans defense, honestly, did not look amazing. They did kind of what they needed to, but Buccaneers defense, I'd say, performed better despite a loss. And really, it was C.J. Stroud and his offense really leading. Honestly, Buccaneers had the game won, honest to God. But then C.J. Stroud came out of nowhere and said, nope, this is going to be my game. This is how I'm going to play it. It's really awesome to see, and really proud to see that C.J. Stroud's doing really well. Meanwhile, let's go to another. Again, there's a lot of games that really just turned out to be very one-sided. Cardinals, I'm not going to say much here. Clayton Tune, not the guy. Not the guy. Nobody got any receiving. Defense from the Cardinals was nothing. The Browns, really, Deshaun Watson came back, I guess. That was kind of cool. Oh, excuse me. Every time I say Deshaun Watson, we get that kind of love tap. No, seriousness. Deshaun Watson came back. Fine game, but it was against some really nobody team. So, it was just kind of more of a warming up for him again. No really big run game. I mean, Kareem Hunt still continues to split a lot with Jerome Ford. Amari Cooper was a big focus point, showing Deshaun Watson just really likes him. David Njoku also got some little bit of love, too. Defensively, I mean, I'd love to say, oh, my gosh, they're dominating numbers. They are dominating numbers, but it's against the Cardinals. So I don't know really how to really compare this thing. It was 5 or 6 sacks, 2 picks. So Browns did really good, but, I mean, it's the Cardinals. So I don't know really to say. Kind of expected it from them. So 5-3 versus 1-8. So take that as you will. Moving on to the Colts and Panthers. It's kind of a middle ground game. I don't know really what to say about this one, to be honest with you. It was fine enough. It was suitable for a watch. I did watch a decent amount of this game, but it was kind of like one of those games where I kind of got on my phone a little bit, did some texting, and kind of talked to other people. So I don't know how much I was really invested in this game. Whatever. Gardner Minshew was fine. Jonathan Taylor didn't do much. Receiving, I mean, whatever. Michael Pittman was involved, but Jonathan Taylor got the touchdown. Sure. Defensively, sure, the Colts did fine. They got 3 interceptions because Bryce Young did not look very good. But Bryce Young going from their win against Texans however long ago, I can't remember if it was last week or whatever, I think it was last week. 173 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Holy moly! I mean, this did not look good. It just was a rough game for him. I don't know if it was the defense of the Colts, which I don't think it really was, to be honest with you. I don't know if it was off game. Whatever. Chuba Hubbard, whatever, continues to get more reps. Not really being the best, running back though. And receiving was really nothing. Adam Thielen really didn't get involved at all in the receiving game. I shouldn't say didn't get involved. He got 5 targets, or not 5 targets, 8 targets and 5 receptions. But it just did not turn out to be anything. Panthers defense continues to be one of the weakest in the league. It's just not really much of a surprise anymore. But the Colts actually kind of just went out there and kind of dominated a little bit. So it's kind of sad to see in that regard. But another game that kind of made me sad because I was going to watch this game, and then all of a sudden the Raiders, just immediately the second quarter started, and I'm like, oh, great. Tommy DeVito's not doing anything. Luckily, they did way better than they did last week, but way better is not saying much considering their stats last week. Daniel Jones is now out for the season, I believe. Saquon, I mean, they didn't use him 36 times, so that's good. Darius Slayton, sure, he did fine. I don't even know some of these receivers for this team. The Giants just looked awful. Defensively, they looked awful again. Like, that was the worst defensive play I've seen in a hot minute, and I watched, a little bit of last week's game. Aiden O'Connell came out there, started for the rest of the season, I believe. Did fine against a bad Giants defense. I mean, Josh Jacobs ate him up. Jacoby Myers a little bit ate him up. Devontae Adams didn't get as much love again. He continues to not really produce anything in the receiving game. It's kind of just sad. And, I mean, looking at these numbers, I mean, Max Crosby got 3 sacks. I mean, you get, like, 2 picks right here. Like, what was that, 6 sacks total, 7 sacks total from the Raiders. I mean, they just kind of ate him up and stat padded this game for the Raiders. I mean, it's just sad to see the Giants fall. And seeing what they were last year, I get they had an easy schedule, but, man, it was just kind of sad to see, man. Raiders either way took it 30-6, and really Raiders really needed that to stay kind of in the nice little middle zone. I mean, they're not the greatest team, but 4-5 is still not a bad record for them right now. So either way. Meanwhile, a really good game of the week. I'm really excited to see this because I watched a lot of this game too, especially the second half. Because I was really invested because I wanted CeeDee Lamb to really do well. And I wanted Jalen Hurts not to do as well. Beside the point. Dak Prescott had a really hell of a good game. He's showing that he can be up in the upper tier quarterbacks as long as he's able to get into the zone and go. Didn't throw a single pick. That was really awesome to see. Tony Pollard, from the little bit of reps he did get, was good. But, I mean, obviously they had to rely more on the receiving game this game. CeeDee Lamb didn't find the end zone, 191 yards, though. Lots of targets. Michael Gallup, not really anything from him this game. Jake Ferguson was actually kind of getting targeted, so really awesome to see from him kind of getting a little bit of a breakout. Defensively, both teams were good. I'm not gonna say much because I don't think either one of them was the flashiest in the world, but they were both really good and really solid to get the fourth down or the third down stops and let them get the other team to punt, basically. Really good in that regard. Kind of like almost a grimy game at times, but still kind of flashy with the 23-28, modest score here. Meanwhile, you look at the Eagles here. Jalen Hurts, 2 touchdowns, 207 yards, still not bad. DeAndre Swift didn't do much this game. Kenneth Gainwell didn't do too much this game. Jalen Hurts did, of course, get a brotherly shove, touchdown as well. A.J. Brown did pretty well. Devonta Smith also did pretty well, so good for them, getting a lot of targets there. And DeAndre Swift did have a little bit in the receiving game, but still wasn't really a main factor. And again, Eagles did probably, looking at the sacks here, did probably have a little bit more of a flashy game. But I wouldn't say the sacks is what won them it. I guess near the end, though, they did get a few sacks that actually pushed them out quite far. So there was a last play where CeeDee Lamb almost got to the end zone, but I guess the yardage was just too far. So it's unfortunate in that regard. So I guess some of these sacks did actually matter in the grand scheme of things. But either way, this was a nice grimy game. Good to see from both of these teams. Cowboys performed well, Eagles performed well, and Eagles deserved the 8-1 spot. And Cowboys 5-3 is rough, but they face off against good teams. That's what you get when you face off against good teams. Simple to the point. Bills Bengals, very disappointing in this game, man. I just wanted Josh Allen, the Bills, to do so much better. They did fine. Josh Allen did fine. Rushing game was Josh Allen exclusively, pretty much. Stephon Diggs got a little bit involved. Dalton Kincaid was kind of nice to see that he was still staying involved in the game a lot more. Defensively, the Bills just struggled so much. They could not stop the Bengals. Bengals went out there and said, hey, we're just going to have a dominating game, and Joe Burrow showed that. 348 yards, 2 touchdowns. Easy. Joe Mixon ate up a little bit, but not too much. T. Higgins was really heavily involved in his matchup. Tyler Boyd was actually a little bit more involved. Jamar Chase was covered pretty well for the most part, but outside of that, with Bengals was like such a good offensive core, it's so hard to stop them, and the Bills just couldn't find a way to stop them at all. And defensively, the Bengals did overexceeded their expectations, honestly, to some extent. So picking off Josh Allen, getting a sack, that's good stuff too. But they also just stopped them in key points and didn't let them really get within field goal range. They really didn't let them get within good range. It kind of just sucked for the Bills this game, and the Bengals just showed that, hey, listen, we may have had a slow start, but we're back, baby. They're now at 5-3 versus the Bills 5-4. Bills are starting to get in kind of danger territory in terms of it's already halfway through the season. They still have some important games coming up. We're like, are they going to lose 4 more games? 3 or 4 more games? Are they going to drop a random game too? I'm not too sure, but it's starting to look a little bad here. Meanwhile, we're stopping last with the Chargers at Jets, 4-4. Both teams, well, I guess they weren't both of them, 3-4 and 4-3 or whatever. Whatever. I didn't watch much of this game, to be honest with you. Justin Herbert didn't do really anything, honestly. You would think that from the score he would have done something, but really it was all Eckler here, and even Eckler didn't put up numbers. So I don't even know really where all the yards came from. Receiving, Keenan Allen continues to be the focus point, but some people got not really involved, it looks like. Defensively, Chargers just dominated. That's really what I saw was Chargers defense got 37 points in our league. 6.5, 7.5, 8 basically sacks here. Like, that's just crazy. I mean, offensive line from the Jets is nothing to sneeze at, but or nothing like to really brag about, I should say. But 8 sacks is crazy. The Chargers defense ate him alive, and Zach Wilson just couldn't do much about it. I mean, he put up fine numbers too. Considering he didn't throw an interception here, it's kind of impressive, but on the ground, they couldn't get anything going. Zach Wilson didn't seem to find the end zone, didn't find any key crucial conversions. It just was really, really suckly. Tyler Conklin got a little bit of love too, which a little scared me a little bit. Garrett Wilson did well. Otherwise, I mean, they just did not get anything going. Defensively, Jets actually performed well too. Like, I couldn't even complain that their secondary actually did a lot of the good work, a lot of the heavy lifting. Defensive line was fine-ish, but like they just could not, stop the crucial conversions, and that this was what hurt them in the end. The Jets lost 27-6, and I don't know what to think about the Jets, man. Because I like Zach Wilson. He didn't perform too bad, but against Brandon Staley, when you drop off that much and not even allow him to mess up, it's really interesting to see. So we'll see how both these teams do in the future, but that's the NFL Week 9 recap here, unfortunately. I did say I'm going to kind of go over some other things like FanDuel and the ESPN Eliminator. I'm actually going to go ahead and do the ESPN Eliminator real quick for you. I did choose the Cowboys this week, so I actually am good. I picked the Saints last week, so I'm 9-0 right now. I'm still in the running, luckily, of the games. We're kind of looking through this next week of locks of the week. I'm not really looking at anything. Bengals feels like a trap here. I don't know. I don't like that Bengals game at all, to be honest with you. It's probably my second or third choice, but, like, I don't know. I don't like it enough to even pick it as my first. You could probably get ballsy and pick one of these two teams, but, I don't know which one I would choose. Probably Buccaneers, but it's kind of getting iffy there, too. In terms of other teams, you could kind of look at Falcons over Cardinals. Seems kind of safe, but honestly, I don't like keep on doing the same team, even bad teams, because bad teams even kind of pick up some random wins that we don't like seeing. But, I mean, at this point, the Giants have shown how poverty they are. Granted, it's divisional, so it gets me a little bit nervous in that regard. But Jets over Raiders, that makes me nervous too. Bills over Broncos. I'm a Broncos fan, so I can't really choose the Bills because I don't want to be rooting against the Broncos, especially when I only have one life. I would do this much more comfortably with two. If I had two, I'd put one on the Bills, one on the Cowboys. But I'm going to go Cowboys. But honestly, Bills over Broncos is not too bad of a 1-2. So say that as you will. I'm going with Cowboys over the Giants, though knowing my luck, the Cowboys. I mean, at this point, they're 5-3. They cannot be dropping too many more losses there because they have some hard games again heading up. So at this point, I've given up on the Giants. So Cowboys, I'm just going to give them the win, and hopefully it doesn't backfire because that will put me in the 10-0 club, and we're getting pretty close near the end of the season. So I'd love to kind of win that $25,000 grand prize. Beside the point, here's some of the bets I made last week, including this week as well. So I did realize I actually did go over the 10-28 bets I made, so I'm just going to kind of go over these last 2 weeks' bet, or this last week's bet. I only did 2 wagers this week just because I only had $2 left in the balance. I'm like, well, I'll just kind of stick to that. I thought I added more money here, but I guess maybe not, so I'm going to check that out, make sure I didn't get charged for all that. So either way, looking over real quick, I did choose the under for Miami and Chiefs. I just knew with it being an international game, it wouldn't be that much. Seahawks, Ravens, also I knew that Ravens have historically, I don't know, feels like they go under a lot. Commanders over Patriots felt pretty safe. Cardinals, I thought would at least get within 11. 11 felt very aggressive, but I was very wrong. Void little matchup here with under for Bears and Saints because they got exactly 41 total points. I was very optimistic in picking the Buccaneers winning, but evidently no. Rams and Packers with over 38.5. Couldn't even get to that point. I thought the Rams would have a much better game. Not at all. Atlanta Falcons, I thought, would get a win with a pretty decent margin here, but in fact, they did not. The Colts did cover the spread. The Giants did not go do the money line. Very optimistic thinking, I know. Eagles did cover the spread as well. Bills on the money line did not cover theirs, and Los Angeles Chargers did cover their spread pretty dang easily. Meanwhile, I did the Bills-Bengals game, same game parlay. I didn't do pretty good here because, again, it was relying a lot on the Bills doing well. Jamar Chase did not get in the end zone either. Dalton Kincaid didn't get in the end zone. Josh Allen didn't get over. Joe Burrow definitely didn't go under. Joe Burrow did get more than one touchdown, or more than 2 touchdowns, I should say. Joe Mixon, it was more than 1 touchdown, I guess, whatever. Joe Mixon did not go over in his rushing yards at all. Tyler Boyd did get over just because he was utilized a lot more than Jamar Chase. Gabe Davis did not go over. Khalil Shakir did go over his receptions, and James Cook did not get the first touchdown by far. So that was very, very poor bets by me. Either way, though, it happens. So either way, thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate y'all covering the content. Still working on Madden 2004 Imperialism coming out here, maybe here in the next week or and a half or so. That's what kind of my timeline is by next, every 2 weeks probably to put that out. But either way, their quizzes are going to get going here pretty soon as well. I'm going to record the guys tomorrow. We're going to record predictions, power rankings, stuff like that. So I don't know if we'll have an upload here tomorrow, just because we're doing a lot of recordings. But I'll see what I can do and see what what we can get done here today. Either way, thank you guys for watching. StraightA Dawson is out. See you guys later.